Our next speaker is a native New Jerseyan with a Juris Doctorate from Seton Hall University and currently practices labor and employment law in Trenton. But he's here today in his capacity as a 5-time Assemblyman from the 15th Legislative District. He serves on the Environmental and Judiciary Committees, as well as a member on the Governor's Advisory Council on HIV/AIDS. Assemblyman Gusciora sponsored legislation which expanded prescription drug programs for senior citizens, streamlined services for developmentally disabled people, required lower car emissions. He's authored changes in the law to protect abused children. He's proposed legislation establishing needle exchange programs, barring cigarettes in bars and restaurants, abolishing the death penalty, and tightening weapons sales. The pattern Assemblyman Gusciora has shown us is one of an elected official we can be proud of, one with a heart, who's not afraid to do what's best for the average citizen, and moreover, who's very willing to lead. I'm very proud that he's my Assemblyman, and he's the co-sponsor of the New Jersey Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act. And it's quite an honor and a pleasure to have Assemblyman Gusciora with us here today.
Thanks, Ed. You have to excuse me. I'm suffering from a summer doldrum cold. I wanted to thank the McGraths for opening up their home. This is a great example of grief channeling into a positive step, and as well as Jim, who I've actually worked with and has enlightened me on this subject. And we do have a long way to go. It actually reminds me of the since this is a political season, when Adlai Stevenson was walking out of the voting booth in 1956, a little old lady walked up to him and said, "Mr. Stevenson, I just want you to know that every well-informed and educated person in America is voting for you today." And he said, "Unfortunately, madam, I need a majority of the electorate." And I think that that's what we all need to do is to get that well-informed public, and particularly with the legislators. It's too easy to use this as a political football. It's too easy to say that this is the first step in legalizing drugs, but it's a lot more complex than that. And so we do have our work cut out for us, but I'm encouraged by the attendance here and the desire to work for positive change. New Jersey actually has a law in the book from 1981 that would encourage the experimentation of medical marijuana, and that's been on the books. However, the Department of Health has neglected to purchase or acquire the medical marijuana to experiment with it. So we actually have a law in the books that would encourage this study. However, unfortunately, New Jersey has never implemented that law. This would, my legislation, who I introduced will intend to introduce with Michael Carroll, who's from Morris County, and incidentally on the opposite spectrum than I am. I'm usually on the left and he's usually on the right. But I think this is something that speaks of compassion and the right thing to do. It would allow a registry of people who have been certified to suffer from a terminal terminal illness or debilitating disease, and they could use that as a defense, affirmative defense in any action by law enforcement to arrest them. And this would go a long way for people to use this in a compassion, and we all know the syndrome of wasting and nausea, that it's been adequately demonstrated that this will relieve that kind of suffering. We should not be making people who are on their terminal bed, terminal illness, criminals. This is a time where they're at the sunset of their life, and they need, we need to treat them compassionately, but also make them as comfortable as possible. And this would go a long way to relieve a lot of the suffering. It's ironic that derivative of poppy morphine is legal, and that the absolute last stages of terminal illness, but this would actually provide comfort for patients that would relieve their suffering and that they could actually improve upon. Whereas morphine is usually at your last stages when all else has failed. Medical marijuana will help people lead productive lives, and it would go a long way. So I've signed up on the bill. I would encourage people in the audience to contact their legislators to sign up on the bill. I think this is the right thing to do, and it should not be used as a political football. Again, it could be so easy to rail against this, but I think all of us can point to many instances of people that have suffered in the last stages of their life that could have relief provided for them. So I hope we'll all stick to it, and I look forward to the bill passing in the year to come. Thank you very much.